Hersh, you have to unmute yourself. You're not unmuted.
Namaste and good morning to everyone. Let's start the prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurue Namah. Om Bhava Swaha, Tatsavitra Varenayam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Diyo Yo Naha Prachodayat. Asto ma sadgamya, tamso ma jyotirgamya, mrityorma amritam gamya. Om sehna vavatu, sehno bhunaktu, seviryam karvavahi, tejasvi nav, ditamastu ma vidvishavahi. Om shanti, shanti, shanti. Om. In this class, we often talk about the Hatha Yoga, the different kinds of pranayams, asanas also, mudras also, bandhs also, cleansings also. All these yogic techniques, what do? They clean our body, they nourish our body. Body means not just the skin part, the internal organs, the glands, and especially the nervous system. According to our yogis, the fundamental thing for healthy body and healthy mind is our nervous system. Everyone has times been nervous, more or less, without knowing why. And we always blame other things for making us nervous, but never accuse ourselves. It's our system. We are responsible for it. So it is us who make ourselves nervous. If we take this responsibility, only then we can correct it too. Because if we blame it on the weather or the stars or God or genes, our ancestors, then we really don't have any control over it. We are right away giving the control to somebody else. I would say 99% is our own fault. Or if you don't like the word fault, responsibility. Restlessness, emotional excitement, concentrates too much energy in the nerves. They begin to wear out. After years and years, the adverse effects of that nervousness begin to show. Even though the nerves are very tough, God made them so because they have to last a long time. But it is necessary to give them proper care. That's our responsibility. When you stop overloading the nervous system, as when you are in the deep sleep or a state of calmness, in meditation, you are not nervous at all. In meditative ecstasy, the nerves become highly rested and rejuvenated. That's what our yogic texts say. Nerves are like wires connecting all parts of a factory. If the wires become worn or burned out, then the whole factory or certain areas of the factory get affected and it cannot function. Similarly, the nervous system enlivens all parts of our body, including the perceptive, cognitive, and responsive functions of the five senses. If the nerves are destroyed, then transactions with the world is also destroyed. There are two systems of nerves. I'm sure you all read about it in your high school textbooks. The central nervous system in the brain, medulla and spinal cord, and out of that, the peripheral system which connects the nerve centers to the different organs of the body and carries energy to them. The nervous system sends sensations to the brain, enables the brain to process them, and then reacts upon the brain's interpretation of those stimuli. It's a very basic knowledge which we all have. The brain is the house of the 27,000 billion cells. The nervous system that connects them all must be kept in proper working order. It's a very complicated factory. When the nerves are paralyzed, they cannot convey their vital messages. For example, if the optical center in the brain is impaired, owing to wrong eating, disease, or strain, the nerves of the eyes are affected. And the eyes begin to grow weak. And we all know that. Most nervous diseases are due to overexcitation of the mind. These arise from many causes. We need to examine ourselves. We got to see, do we stay nervous? Then we have to determine what it is that makes us nervous. Because that's not the regular state of a being, to stay nervous. When you get mad, angry, you send tremendous volts of energy into the brain and the heart. So that's why the emotions like anger and fear can be so put such an overload to the nerves that they cause the body to malfunction. Sometimes even stopping the heart and causing death. If you pass 1,000,000 volts of current through a small wire that can stand only a few volts, the wire will be burnt out. We all know that. So excitement means you are directing too much energy to a certain area and depriving other nerves of that life force. The person of calmness, on the contrary, keeps his nerves well fed with a balanced flow of energy, so that no part of the body is detrimentally overloaded or depleted. I would say that nervousness is the disease of civilization. We should definitely take time to enjoy things, the beauties of this God creation, and the many, many blessings of our life. But avoid undue excitement, restlessness, and sudden emotions, which burn up our nervous system. Talking too much, including the habit of engaging in long conversations on the telephone, creates nervousness. Habitual twitching, like drumming the fingers or moving the toes, burns energy in the nerves. To watch for that, what is happening in my body? It's my body, should be in my control. Another cause of nervousness is the noise of the TV going on for hours at a time, or even a music. All sounds cause the nerves to react. There is a doctor from Columbia University, Dr. Samuel Rosen. He wrote, after doing some deep studies, he said it is known that loud noises cause effects which the recipient cannot control. The blood vessels constrict, the skin pales, the voluntary and involuntary muscles tense, and adrenaline is suddenly injected into the bloodstream, which increases neuromuscular tension, nervousness, irritability, and anxiety from the loud noise. We have all seen, not only in the parties, but in the temples also, big speakers, amplified noise. As a yoga practitioner, we got to be careful about it. Stay away. We cannot control the other people. We cannot control the situations, but we have the freedom to move away from these places. Don't overstimulate your nervous system. Learn to enjoy silence. Don't listen to the TV or the radio for hours on end, or have them blaring mindlessly in the background all the time. Like when you are driving, you don't need to have the radio on. Enjoy the silence. As I have seen some people, their radio is always on in the car. That's a disease. Another major cause of nervousness is unkind speech. As a serious yoga practitioner, never gossip or talk against others. Be busy reforming yourself. It's not our duty to reform others. Practice kind speech. Do not be quarrelsome. Even if your spouse gets angry, because I often hear this, what can I do with the person I live with? Even your spouse gets angry, take a little walk, cool off before responding. Your response will be much better. It won't be a reaction. If he or she speaks sharply, don't retort in the same way. It is better to remain quiet until the temper has cooled down. Then you can give your response. That will be more effective. Avoid being stubborn. But at the same time, refrain from involving yourself in a quarrel. Never let anyone rob you of your peace. And do not steal away the peace of others. Lord Krishna mentioned that in Bhagavad Gita, quality of a Bhagat, quality of a Jnani, that we don't agitate somebody else and we don't get agitated by others also. And most of the time we agitate others and we get agitated by somebody else with our verbal misbehavior. So control your speech. The misuse of speech is one of the most injurious of all weapons. Our heart requires true love, friendship, and above all, peace. Peace. When through emotion, peace is destroyed, it is an insult to this bodily temple. Because this body is called Deho Devalya Prokta. So Devalya, Devatas reside in it. A healthy nervous system is what will maintain in proper order all the bodily organs and feelings. And to keep the nervous system healthy, it is important to remain free from devastating emotions. And what are those devastating emotions? Fear, anger, greed, jealousy, depression, sadness. All those are devastating. They are like a poison. They are like a garbage in this temple. It's almost like if you just take your garbage can and take it to the temple and splatter it over there. That's what these negative emotions are inside us. That means we have not considered this as a Diwali. Cast off fear. Because fear is, some people say fear is natural. Remember, what is there to be afraid of? What? Even a little bit of fear, such as a senseless apprehension of the dark, like a little kids, they get afraid of that. Or worrying about the things that might happen affects the nerves more than you can even imagine. Why dread? Why dread even death? Because that is the biggest fear people have. Old age, disease, death. Just remember, God allows it to happen to everybody. So it cannot be bad. Our mind makes it bad. That is a very consoling thought to hold on to. Death is just like a refreshing sleep. And you are not afraid of sleep, are you? In fact, we look forward to sleeping at night. Death is a complete rest. God gives us death to release us of all the troubles here and then provide us with a fresh start in a new incarnation with a new body. So to be caught up in fear, anger, greed, or any violent or impulsive emotion is to forget God. So that means our relationship with God is getting weak, and our relationship with this transitory world, we have made it so strong. If your senses which govern your emotion are under your control, you know what? You are a saint. That is the definition, one of the definitions of a saint. Okay. So remember, anything that overrules your self-control leads your nervous system to destruction. Just like a greedy man eats, and the man of self-control also eats. One eats for the well-being of his body, but the other overeats for sensual gratification. So act of eating is the same, but the motive behind the eating is different. And the motive is the one which is really affecting the nervous system. Having a car, we need it in this country, big country, things are away. Having a car to transport ourselves or having a car to show off. Two different things. Having a house and showing off the house. Taking care of this body, thinking that this is my Diwali. Or showing off this body, that I am better than you. Okay, that's how the nervous system gets wrecked. If one's love is concentrated more on God and less on the senses, then all sensory abuse will be overcome. So remembering God, keeping God on the side. That's why Lord Krishna said in chapter 6, verse number 18, you can look at it. He said, when the feelings is absolutely subjugated and calmly established in the self, the yogi, devoid of attachment to all desires, is spoken of as the God united. So yogi also lives, yogi also eats, yogi has a house, yogi wears clothes, yogi has relationships, but the motive behind is only God, union with God. If you're in the grip of any abuse of the senses, And this means any one of them continuously affirm your freedom. How? By repeating that I am not enslaved by this habit. My love for God is supreme, greater than for anything else. Keep on reminding yourself. We don't have to say it with words. Nobody needs to know what is happening in our mind. And that's how we keep on strengthening our nervous system, not wrecking it. Desire and attachment feed the disease of nervousness. Desire and attachment. By the time you have acquired the things you crave, you are worn out. So that's why desirelessness, non-attachment, is freedom from the tyranny of enslavement to possessions. It takes too much energy. It takes too much time to keep too many possessions in good order. We all know that. The truth of the matter is that the more unnecessary necessities you have, the less peace you have. And the less you are possessed by possessions, the more happiness you have. So the choice is ours. Do we want to move towards the peace, or do we want to stay possessed by the possessions? So the way to develop spiritually is to live simply, live quietly, study good books, practice calmness through control of the senses and emotions, and meditate much of the time. Much of the time, just meditate. Learn to be very active in this world, doing a constructive work. But when you are through with your duties, turn off your nervous motor. Retire to the center of your being, which is calmness. Most of the people in this class, they are retired. Try to practice it more often, not only in the morning and evening, during the daytime also. Instead of turning the TV on or looking at your phone, just close your eyes, go within. If you have a calm nervous system, you will have success in everything you undertake. Above all, you will succeed with God. So that means you will be successful in this world. You'll have a healthier body, a calmer mind, and then you'll have a connection with God. And that's what the dharam is. Dharam does not mean to run away from your duties. Dharam is to do your duties properly, calmly, but don't forget who you are. That's why I said that if you have a calm nervous system, you will have success in everything you undertake. It could be from cooking to the cleaning to the taking care of the children or the grandchildren or running a hospital or a company, anything, or any head of some social organization, no matter what you are doing, because we all wear several hats. So calm nervous system, you'll see the success. That means the outcome will be positive and you will succeed with God also. So the nervous system has two duties. The nerves allow you to interact with the world, and nerves also serve to connect you with God. Both. That's why when we are in ecstasy, in samadhi, you see the effect of that, you feel the effect of that in your nervous system. The life force in man's body ordinarily flows outward from the brain and spine through the nerves to the senses and their external experiences. This we know. But in yogic meditation, that energy is reversed to flow inward. It draws the consciousness to the subtle spiritual cerebrospinal centers of divine perception and God realization. This is what happens. So that's why this healthy nervous system is so important. Nervousness, the overstimulation of the nerves, ties the consciousness to the body. And calmness conduces to God communion. When you turn off external nervous energy and calm yourself in meditation, and the life force retires from the senses to the cerebrospinal centers of our spiritual perceptions. Your nervous system is then connected with the superconsciousness. So there's nothing mystical about it. We all have the nervous system. We all have this life force. We all have the sense perception. Only thing is we need to practice it. So no mysticism about it. The more you can remain in that kind of a state of bliss, the deep meditation, the more you will feel the joy with you all the time, not only during your meditation. Even in the middle of the activities, you will feel calmness. Man's brain, being larger than that of most animals, with the exception of the elephant and the whale, but it is very complex, contains the greatest capacity for thought. That's why it makes the human brain a proper instrument for us. That's why we are called the highly evolved creatures, because of our brain. A human alone is capable of advanced levels of discrimination and ultimately of God realization. Only human beings, on this earth at least. The greater the amount of thought, for example, in a human being as contrasted with animals, the greater the complexity of these cerebral convulsions. We have all heard about the fissures of these convulsions are about 1 inch deep in adult brain. The gray matter of this surface of the brain is where our sensory motor thought processes are lodged. So in early stages of developing fetus, the brain is more like a marble dome. The awareness and responses of the fetus increase with the developing complexity of the convulsions. And our ancient yogis, they knew when the brain is developing in the fetus. They even came up with certain sanskars at a certain time of the growth to pray for that, so that this brain develops properly in this particular baby. So prayers of the mother, prayers of the father, prayers of the guru to God, that please help this child, because life depends upon this. The mind, the source of thought, and the discrimination is a process of consciousness, not a physiology. It triggers the physiology. Now you will find it very interesting how God has made this physical body. It is definitely a deep and vast subject. Just a few points I will touch upon. The gray matter on the surface of the brain is the receptacle of nerve impulses. This is where all the nerve cells and electrical vibrations are located. When you decide to move any part of your body, your hands, fingers, eyes, for example, This creates electrical impulses in the cell of the gray matter, which are transmitted through the motor nerves to the body part that you want to move. This is how beautifully this whole thing has been designed. And as that part moves, another electrical current is sent back to the brain through the sensory nerves. And these electrical impulses stimulate the nerve cells in the gray matter. And more energy-giving oxygen is drawn from the blood vessels in the membrane surrounding the brain. And that's why the yogis, they came up with these pranayams. That pranayam affects our nervous system. Proper pranayam done every single day is so important. So that exercise, that is very good to stimulate the energy in the brain. Sometimes we can just even tap our knuckles on our brain. You'll feel that. Or the hatha yoga exercises, the headstand, the shoulder stand, all the forward bends, they are very, very important to stimulate our nervous system. The nerve tissues are cylindrical in form. We know that. If you see a diagram of the nervous system, it's like a web of projecting rays, pathways of electrical energy without which there's no life in the body. The first manifestation of God, the creator, is what? Thought. Brahma, thought. The intelligence itself. Because the material body is a condensation of the multicolored rays of the light of the life-giving astral body, color is important in our life. Color. The point is that you are affected by the color because colors are manifestations of specific vibrations. Colors. Surround yourself with the colors that are harmonious to your nature. Like white, that is good for our nervous system. Even the foods, because foods are also material condensations of astral rays of life. There is a correlation of the colors of the food also. So it's like a food plus the color of the food. Various kinds of natural white foods are good for the nervous system. They benefit the white matter of the brain. And we all know the berries are good for the gray matter of the brain. Blueberries, blackberries, golden fruits, oranges, mangoes, they have a creative vibratory energy in matter. I heard from my own Guruji that goat's milk, unbleached almonds, raisins are very good for the nervous system. Because the food we eat, it not only helps our body, but it is affecting the rest of us too. Avoid too much starch, the yogis say. Eat whole grain, cottage cheese, plenty of fruits, fruit juices, fresh vegetables. The more fresh you can eat, the better it is. And needless to say, alcoholic beverages and drugs, they destroy the nervous system, no matter how much of those are the fashion. Remember that the greatest healing of nervousness takes place when we attune our lives to God. Love God with all your heart. Actually, these are the two foremost commandments. The first one is love God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. This is the first one. And the second commandment is Love your neighbor as yourself. Neighbor means anybody who's next to us. It's not only the people who are living next door, anybody next to us, especially the person we are living with, the people we are living with, people we are working with. Love thy neighbor as yourself. Wherever you go, bring harmony, calmness, and upliftment. The nervous person who is always restless, irritable, emotional, will repulse others. There are certain people we would rather not be close to. But if we have that kind of a habit, then people won't like to be close to us. Your life will reflect spiritual consciousness if you meditate. Remember, God seeks willing hearts for the bestowal of his gifts. God is always ready to shower these gifts. In fact, God is always showering the gifts, the grace. He is willing to give us everything. But he looks in our hearts. And if they are filled with something else, then there's no room to put the grace. There's no room left. But if you can truthfully say to God, God, there is nothing in my heart but you, he will definitely come. He's ready to come in our heart. But if we have negativity there, anger there, nervousness there, restlessness there, there's no room for God. In time, you will receive his clear response in the form of direct answers to your prayers. Because if you keep on working, this is the sadhana. Or you will have the vision of the saints also, sometimes in the dreams or sometimes in your meditation. You will be able to talk to God also. Many saints, they constantly talk to God. So doable. What happens then is, if you have that kind of a communion with God, nervousness will never again be able to touch you. No matter what is happening around you, you will not get nervous. You are permanently anchored in the realization of God's presence then. And that is our goal. That's how a practitioner lives. Calmness, peacefulness, restfulness, love with God, by bringing all these qualities in our life. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. Om Shanti 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 Om.